guys, welcome back to another episode of BAMGPG. I'm your host Bison,
And I'll be your co-host, Ben.
and today we're going to do a 6-round mock draft with trades. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe and go check out our TikTok, BAMGPG.
That's right. So we're going to do another 6-round mock draft. This time we're going to explore trades, see what's available as we're working our way through the 6 rounds this time. We're going to alternate picks this time. I'm going to start off with 1, Bryson 2, and then kind of rotate through in that order. And our goal is just kind of get more familiar with this year's draft class, right? Kind of take a look at some players. Obviously, we know, kind of the top players in this year's draft. Let's kind of dig in deep and look at positions of need for Green Bay, look at best available options when these picks do come up, and see what's out there. We know Green Bay has to address the wide receiver position. We have to address the edge rusher position, and we have to address the cornerback position, right? So we're going to look at those 3, see what else we can do to bolster the Green Bay Packers for this next coming season. Possibly an offensive lineman, possibly an interior defensive lineman. So we'll look at all those options, get more familiar as we get deeper into the draft class here with some of the players. And we'll go ahead and kick it off here, Bryson. So let me share it out here.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and kick it off here.
Okay.
All right. So before I get into my first pick here, I want to scroll to the top here and see where everyone was taken. So Cam Ward, naturally, top quarterback in this year's draft, was taken by Tennessee, number 1 overall. Makes a ton of sense. Tennessee absolutely needs a quarterback. Then looking at number 2, Cleveland Browns, a team that is in a rebuild, or should consider themselves being in a rebuild, right? So what's that mean? When you look in the rebuild, I'm a true believer in start with a quarterback first, let him develop, and then build around him, right? Makes the most sense for me. They need a quarterback. Watson's been a nightmare for them. They're going to have to address that position. They're going to have to go younger. Maybe they can get a stopgap in there this year, get another veteran guy in there. I don't think Watson's probably the answer. But we'll see what they do this offseason. But there are some veteran quarterbacks out there. You take a look at Aaron Rodgers and Sam Darnold, guys like that. They will be available out there if the team decides to go that route. But they took Travis Hunter, fantastic player out of Colorado, cornerback. One of those players that can possibly play both ways in this league. He could play at wide receiver and cornerback if the team desires. And then the top defensive end, we covered that in our previous episode, Abdul Carter to the Giants. Now, the Giants are an interesting one, right? Because the Giants moved on from Daniel Jones partway through the season last year. So they absolutely need to address their quarterback position, right? So,
And they go the other side of the ball.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, which, he's a fantastic player. But to me, the Giants are in a rebuild. They're not a quarterback away from competing this year. They have a lot of holes that they have to fill. And again, I think you have to start with a quarterback when you're looking at a team that's going through a rebuild. You have to address that position first and then build around them. I would hope that would be the direction that the Giants go. We'll see. But
so far, they're not.
So far, they're not. Last year, they took a wide receiver in the first round. They really went all in on Daniel Jones, and it didn't pan out. He's sitting on a practice squad in Minnesota right now. So we'll see. But they went with Abdul Carter. Absolutely a fantastic player. Probably the top edge rusher, most NFL ready in the draft this year. Now, the top wide receiver went to Jacksonville, which is an interesting one to me as well, right? I mean, Jacksonville's got a great quarterback in place already, but when you look at the Jacksonville team, where was their major weakness this year? It was their defensive backs. Absolutely terrible. I think they were dead last in the league on pass defense, and I mean, they were just constantly getting shredded every week in that backfield. So I think they probably need to address that position first before addressing the other side of the ball, but getting another weapon for your quarterback out there, I guess, is never a bad idea. McMillan is a big-bodied wide receiver, a guy that we've covered. I believe he's 6'5", right? So he's a fantastic deep threat for him. He's got that big body and kind of go up and get those contested catches. So he's a good pick. I probably would have went cornerback, tried to bolster that defense a little bit in Jacksonville, but In this draft, they went wide receiver. Now, the number 2 quarterback in this year's draft, Sanders out of Colorado. So the Raiders absolutely need a quarterback, right? They just haven't found that quarterback after moving on from Carr a couple seasons ago. And in this draft, they addressed it by taking Shedeur Sanders. Now, he's probably not a plug-and-play quarterback. I would hope that they wouldn't rush him in there year one. Maybe they bring in a stopgap. You know, I've heard some rumors about an Aaron Rodgers being linked to Vegas, right? So potentially bringing in Rodgers for a year or two, letting Sanders sit behind him and kind of learn if he's willing to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then let's kind of scroll down here a little bit, see if any other notable ones here. So the other edge rusher I really like out of Marshall, and he's a younger guy, is Mike Green. He's a big-bodied defensive end, fantastic.
I do not know why the Cardinals picked him up.
No, the Cardinals, they needed defensive line help, probably more interior than they did on their edge rushers, but Mike Green's a fantastic edge rusher. He's going to be a great addition to whatever team gets him, right? So if he would fall to 16, ideally, you know, maybe that's a spot where you see Green Bay move up a few spots to draft a guy like a Mike Green, right? Because it's what we're looking for in Green Bay, kind of that premier guy that can rush the quarterback, get that pass rush going, and he's also a great run defender as well. So he's a fantastic player. A cornerback I know you like, Will Johnson, out of Michigan. So he went to the Bengals, and the Bengals, they need defensive help. There's no doubt about that, right? Offensively, they're pretty solid. They're probably bringing back Higgins. They got Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. Their offense is loaded, right? So it makes sense that they would go out and address the defense this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ibuka to Tampa Bay, because they're probably losing one of their wide receivers. Was that Mike Evans, was it? I believe that's who it was.
Yeah.
They'll probably lose him in free agency this year, right? Because he's coming off that major ankle injury. So they're going to have to address the receiver position. Ibuka's a great wide receiver coming out of Ohio State. We've covered him a little bit as well. So that brings us to number 23 on the board, the Green Bay Packers. So what's available? So we know we need edge rusher, right? We need a cornerback. We need a wide receiver. Those are probably our top 3 that I'm looking at, right? So when I look here, you got Stewart on the board still for edge rusher. So let's kind of see where he graded out this year. So 79.5, so slightly above average this year. So you see that progression from 46 to 69 to 79 this year. Only had 2 sacks. His pass rush grade, not great. His run defense grade is pretty good, right? But Green Bay, you know, we're looking for that edge rusher that can get to the quarterback. This guy graded out low consistently all year on his pass rush grade, so it's probably not a guy that I want to waste. I don't want to waste another first-round pick on a project player like a Lucas Van Ness and kind of take that risk in the first round again. I want somebody who's more proven in his collegiate career than this. So I'm probably going to pass on Stewart here with the 23rd pick in the draft. But I do want to continue to look at the edge rushers. So let's pull up edge rushers here. And a guy that I really like, Jack Sawyer, I think he'll probably be available here in the second round. So I'm not going to dive into him quite yet. So let's go ahead here. Maybe we take wide receiver here in the first round. Golden, I like him. Doesn't have a whole lot of size to him. Lines up wide a lot more than what he does in the slot, which is great. That's kind of what we're needing right now because we have Jaden Reed who predominantly takes those slot snaps for Green Bay here. So let's actually go to cornerback, see what we have available here. So we got Matthew Golden. Graded out at 74 this season. His receiving grade is 75.6. Hang on, we just looked at Golden. I want to look at corner specific here. Trey Amos. Again, he's probably not a first-round guy. Decent size for a cornerback. 85.6 coverage grade. His defense was an 81, so he had a pretty decent season. 3 picks, graded on 85.7 this year. It's a position of need for us, but I think he's probably, you can sneak him early in the second round if you wanted to. So let's get rid of the corner here. Let's just look at best available here. So might go with, you know what? Let's see what we got here.
Trade?
Yeah.
I don't really know how to read trades.
Yeah, so 2025. So with the Rams, let's see if we could get their 90th pick as well in the second round. So let's see if they would give us an additional one on top of that. All right, so we got a couple of additional picks.
It only had a 44% chance, but we got it.
We got it. So we got a couple more picks for it. So who came off the board here? So they went with a tackle. Minnesota went with their D line, Alexander, and Golden went to Houston, wide receiver. So that puts us back on the clock here.
All right.
So Bryson, we'll punt this one to you here.
Okay. Yeah, let's look at corner.
Let's pull up.
Defensive end.
Want to go to edge rusher?
Go down. Let's look at Jack Sawyer.
Jack Sawyer.
I don't know. I couldn't put.
So he's had a fantastic.
Let's get him. I see.
Want to go with Sawyer? Yeah, I mean he graded out a 90.5 in 2024. He had 10 sacks, 38 quarterback hurries, and he's a big body, right? 6'5", 260.
Nobody else you can really get.
Yeah, so let's take, we need an edge rusher, Jack Sawyer. See, he's kind of my hidden gem at that position this year. So I'm sold on Sawyer. Let's pull the trigger on him. So we took Sawyer.
Okay.
Which brings us to pick 55. So let's see what we got available at wide receiver here.
Jaden Higgins.
Got Jaden Higgins. I love him. I'm going to take him. We'll run through his stats for everyone here real quick. So he graded out at 90.3 this season, almost 1,200 receiving yards, had 9 touchdown catches. Receiving grade was 90.5. Slot versus wide, almost 3-1. He's out wide. Which is what we're looking for, and his size, 6'4", 215, right? So he's going to be that replacement that we need for a Christian Watson being out for the bulk of the season. So I absolutely love Jaden Higgins. I think he's going to be a playmaker, and I'd love to see him be a playmaker in Green Bay. So I'm going to go ahead and draft Higgins with our first second-round pick here.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's why we have 2.
So that puts us on the clock at pick 87. So we got our edge.
Wait, 1, 3.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see here. We've gotten. Let's look at corner.
And take a look at corner. So you got Mello Dotson, Colby Bryant. We can take a look at both. So Dotson graded out as not a big fan of him. So he had 5 interceptions on the season, graded out at 77.1. 6'1", so he's a little bit above average as far as height when it in terms of a cornerback. Coverage grade was 78.3, so that's above average. His run defense isn't great, but I'm not going to lose sleep over a cornerback not having great run defense, especially with our linebacker core. I feel pretty good about that. But his coverage grade, slightly above average, so he's pretty decent. We can kind of take a look at his counterpart here in Kobe Bryant.
Not to be confused with the basketball player.
No, not the late, great Kobe Bryant. Absolutely not. So he graded out an 80.9, had 4 picks.
Maybe he'll be Kobe Bryant 2.0.
It could be, right? His coverage grade slightly lower, 76.9, but not much. And his run defense is absolutely better, right? So 91.3 on the run defense. Again, 6'1", 175. So you'd like to see him probably bulk up a little bit in the next level. Put on not a whole lot of weight, but just bulk up a little bit. 175 is pretty light to be playing at, especially a cornerback with some of the size of these wide receivers that we're seeing nowadays. But absolutely had a great collegiate career. So I think if you're looking at one, I'd probably go Mello Dotson or Kobe Bryant if that's the position we're addressing here.
Let's get Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant it is.
Not to be confused with the other Kobe
Not to be
Bryant.
confused. So here's our extra pick we got. So we've got cornerback, we've got edge, and we've taken wide receiver. So the best available on the board right now, we're looking at a linebacker out of Oregon, Jeffrey Bassa. Probably not a real position. I do think we've looked at Tez Johnson a little bit here. So he's 5'10", slot. So he's more of a slot wide receiver, right? So he's taken 288 snaps out of the slot, only 58 wide. His receiving grade's 87, and he finished with just shy of 1,000 yards at 898 with 10 touchdowns. So it's pretty solid wide receiver. A guy that you kind of plug and play in there with Jaden Reed. I like him. May come back to him, so we'll keep Tez on mind here. But I also want to see what we got available. So we got Dotson too, right? So we're going to need corner help. He's still available. I like Zy Alexander as well.
Hopefully he doesn't turn out to be like Jair.
6'2". I may go with Mello Dotson. I'm going to go with Dotson here.
Okay.
Kind of go heavy on cornerbacks in this draft, which will bring us into round 4.
All right. I want to see what trades we can get to.
So it doesn't look like we have any offers. So we're
try to
picking
make one.
So we could maybe see if they'd be interested moving up a pick, see if we can maybe get one more in the next round, possibly. It looks like we can sneak an extra one out of them by moving back a pick.
And then add a pick. No?
We can maybe get one. No, they're not interested in that. Yeah, maybe. Let's go. We can try to go to Houston.
Let's try the Ravens.
So it looks like we can snag an extra pick from Houston by moving back 2 picks here.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
Now we have 2 picks right next to each other.
Yep, so Lampkin, guard out of North Carolina, came off the board, and Barrett Carter, linebacker from Clemson. So brings us to back-to-back picks here in the 4th round, Bryson.
All right. Well, let's look at defensive end.
All right, so we can look at our edge rushers. I think maybe this is a round that we can probably bolster our interior defensive line as well.
You know what? Let's take R.J. Oben.
R.J. Oben from Notre Dame. So let's take a look at him. So he graded out at a 75 this year. 1 sack on the season, 9 hurries. So not great out of defensive end. His pass rush grade, slightly above average, 77.1. His run defense, 73.9. And he's 6'3", 262, so a little bit undersized. He's not that big defensive end that you typically see Green Bay drafting, but he's not a terrible player. Seems to be a pretty solid defensive end. Do you want to look at some of the interior defensive linemen real quick?
Yeah.
So Riley Mills. I love Riley Mills. He's still on the board here in the first round. So he had 8 sacks on the season. And he's 6'5", 295.
Well, let's take him.
All right, so Riley Mills coming off the board here. Brings us right back to us again here.
Okay, your pick.
Let's take a look at wide receiver again here. So I'd like to see. So 6'3", he's got decent size to him. Well, only played in 5 games this year, but he did grade out in 82.3, 81.4 receiving. He's consistently had pretty good numbers. So last season when he played a little bit more games is 87.9, 1,144 yards, 8 touchdowns last season. And he's got decent size. He's 6'3", 185. And looking at his slot versus wide, this year, he only played 5 games, so it's almost like a 2-to-1 ratio. Looks like 3-to-1 typically if you look at some of the previous seasons here. So he's that guy that's going to line up wide. Hopefully the guy can kind of get downfield and beat some of those man coverages and really take the top off the defense. We're missing that. I think we probably addressed that, as we've mentioned at length, through free agency. And I love our Higgins pick. I think that's your easy replacement for Watson. But I like Torrey Horton, so I'm going to go with Torrey Horton from Colorado State.
Okay.
Which should get us into the 5th round here, Bryson.
How many picks do we have? 2? 3 picks in the 5th round.
I think our other picks might be in the 6th round.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they are.
Yep. So we can look at possible trades in this round, see if we can acquire some more. Looks like the Steelers may have some interest in trading with us.
Okay, let's move back a spot.
So Pittsburgh, we'd have to move back 2 spots for theirs.
Okay, and then
possibly looks like we can snag an extra one. That
So
might be a 7th round pick though, so I don't know if that does us a whole lot of good in this draft, but
7th round. Let's look at the Panthers.
So look at the Panthers. So let's clear this out.
Maybe like the Vikings.
Well, the Saints also look like they have some interest in moving up.
Where are the Saints at located?
It looks like they've already exhausted this round's pick. So let's look at Minnesota, see if they'd have any interest in moving up 1 pick. And that's their last pick for the draft. So for the sake of this draft,
Philadelphia.
We can look at Philadelphia, see what their interest is. Maybe we can offer them that and get an extra pick in this draft or in this round.
Maybe. It only has a 39% chance.
I didn't like that one. So let's see if we can do our...
All right. Let's try it.
Give us an extra pick in this round here, Bryson. So we lost Connor Colby, guard from Iowa. I like him a lot because he's a big body. I think he's 6'6", so a lot of versatility with him. Tyler Cooper, a guard from Minnesota, went off the board, which brings it back to us.
Okay. I'll give this one to you.
All right, so I may address our center position, right? Because certainly a need for us. Seth McLaughlin, graded out to 70.7, his run blocking 67, his pass blocking is pretty decent, 74. 6'4", 305, so he's got decent size to him for a center. I may go with Seth. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and address our center position right there.
Okay.
Which will bring us to pick 165 here, Bryson. Linebacker, we could certainly add depth at that if that's what we're interested in. Kobe King certainly looks like a great player, graded out an 83.7, 74 tackles. His pass rush grade 67. Not a huge need at linebacker. You're more concerned at kind of his coverage grade and his run defense. So his run defense 89.2, fantastic for a linebacker. Coverage grade 65.5, and size he's 6'1", 248. So
yep, I'm gonna take him.
Kobe King. We're gonna take a linebacker. Penn State. And that'll conclude our 6th round draft.
We got an award.
take a look at our draft here. So top 51% graded out with a B. So first overall pick, Jack Sawyer. Got a C. I still feel good about it. He's still kind of my hidden gem. Jaden Higgins got a B+ in the second round there. I love Jaden Higgins. Outside of McMillan, he's probably my favorite wide receiver in the draft. And then we took the 2 corners, both out of Kansas, right? So Kobe Bryant and Mello Dotson.
Mello Dotson was the better one.
Yeah, yep. And then we went defensive lineman, Riley Mills. Again, I'm a big fan of him as well. And then we took wide receiver Torrey Horton from Colorado State. And then Seth McLaughlin, center from Ohio State.
You're the best player we got.
Yeah, I mean, for the round where we drafted him, right, being able to snag him in the 5th round, absolutely a position of need for Green Bay. We do need to address the center. Josh Myers wasn't great this year. Really wasn't great the past couple of years. Maybe Green Bay brings him back for depth, but I don't think so. So we're going to really have to address that center position this offseason.
What is that award we got?
I don't know. I'm not quite sure what the award is. There's nothing really indicating what it is, but we did receive an award. Top 51% of the Packers draft. So we got a B in this one in our second 6th round pick, or 6th round mock draft rather. So I feel pretty solid about it. And then you took Kobe King, linebacker from Penn State. Fantastic run defender. Can improve a little bit on his coverage defense. But as far as run defense and a linebacker, he's as good as you're going to get at that, right? He graded out, I believe it was an 89 on that. So fantastic linebacker that we were able to snag there in the 5th round. So feel pretty good. If we would come out of the draft with these players, I'd feel pretty good about our draft in 2025. These are fantastic guys. But we'll see how it shakes out. I think we addressed most of our positions of need. We went heavy on wide receiver, went heavy on cornerback. We got an edge rusher, Jack Sawyer from Ohio State, and then we also addressed our center position with Seth McLaughlin from Ohio State. So I feel pretty good about this draft, Bryson.
Yeah, and as always,
let's go Pack, go.